everyone, and welcome to the VERGE Accelerate Finals. My name is Sherrie Totoki, and I am the Director of Startup Programs at GreenBiz. ClimateTech innovators are critical to addressing the climate crisis and are shaping the future of every industry, which we've heard so many times this week. The Accelerate Finals is the primary way in which we at GreenBiz highlight these climate tech entrepreneurs. Over the past 4 days, we've had 25 entrepreneurs pitch across each of our 5 VERGE conferences: carbon, energy, food, infrastructure, and mobility. The startups you'll hear from today are the winners from each of those pitch conferences. Here's how today's Accelerate is going to work. Each entrepreneur will have 2.5 minutes to pitch. Once we hear from all 5, you, the audience, will be able to cast your vote and help to determine the winner of the VERGE Accelerate Finals. During that time, we'll hear from 2 industry experts: Chante Harris, Director of Climate Investments and Partnerships at Venture for ClimateTech, and Rodrigo Prudencio of the Amazon Climate Pledge Fund. And ultimately, it will be up to you, the audience, to help determine the winner of the VERGE Accelerate Finals. So let's get started. First up, we have an HVAC innovation that will drastically reduce energy consumption. Please welcome Dr. Daniel Betts, CEO of Blue Frontier.
Hi, I'm Dr. Daniel Betts, CEO of Blue Frontier. As you can see, I am sitting comfortably in an air-conditioned room. However, air conditioning has a dark side. They are major energy hogs, and the chemical refrigerants they use are more than 1,000 times more powerful greenhouse gases than carbon dioxide. The world is warming, and as this occurs, air conditioning usage is exploding, being the fastest growing use of electricity in the planet. Without a significant change, it is estimated that in 2050, air conditioning electricity consumption will be as much as the whole of India and China today, erasing sustainability and climate change mitigation efforts. But don't worry, we have a solution. At Blue Frontier, we have developed a game-changing technology that will allow us to stay comfortable without harming the environment. We have developed an air conditioner that reduces energy consumption by up to 90%. It is 3 times more efficient than the most efficient air conditioners in the market today, and it completely eliminates peak electricity demand. Our system also stores energy like an air conditioning battery, allowing us to tie our unit's electricity consumption to periods when renewable energy is plentiful. The result is that we slash electric bills and fundamentally reduce the investments required to transform the electric grid towards renewable energy. The value of this savings is many times the capital cost of our unit, allowing innovative business models such as HVAC as a service. We're about to complete and bring to market our first product, a direct replacement of the most sold air conditioner for commercial buildings. But we need your help. We are raising $10 million in a Series A equity round. This comes on the heels of a $1.8 million seed financing round and is leveraged by $5 million in grants and prizes that the company has already won. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And next, moving to water and wastewater infrastructure, we have Aaron Tartakovsky, CEO of Epic Cleantech.
My name is Aaron Tartakovsky, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Epic Cleantech. So we are a sustainability company that deploys on-site water reuse systems into buildings or groups of buildings. So the conventional approach is that we take all the wastewater from our toilets, our showers, our sinks, and we send it off into the sewer, then off to a central treatment plant. Instead, we come in, we capture that wastewater on site, we treat it, and we reuse it within the building for non-potable applications. Think toilet flushing, cooling towers, irrigation, laundry. And by doing that, we can actually help a building to reuse up to 95% of their water, saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars annually on their water and their sewer bills, while also taking a lot of strain off of our overloaded and underfunded central utilities. So our work was actually founded out of initial work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation through the Reinvented Toilet Challenge. And the basic premise of that challenge was With 70% of the world's population expected to live in cities by 2050, how do we scale our water and wastewater infrastructure to be able to grow with the global population? And what we realized through that work was that all of these models we were developing were applicable to growing cities everywhere, not just in the developing world. And we saw an opportunity not just to continue building the way we have for the last 200 years, but to sort of rethink the paradigm of how we do water and wastewater infrastructure. Now, what we realize is that we live in a flush and forget society, which is to say, we don't think about what happens after we flush the toilet. And when we turn on the tap, we take for granted that water comes out. So part of what we've done at Epic is create a one-stop shop approach. So we will handle every single part of the process from the early design, engineering, and permitting with a robust policy and government affairs team through the actual provision of technology where we're producing clean water, soil, and energy. And then we also have an operations team. So we actually have certified water, wastewater operators to make sure that from start to finish, the water reuse process is simplified for our clients. So we see a fundamental opportunity to shift the water wastewater world to a more distributed model. We are starting in San Francisco with 2 operating buildings. We piloted at Stanford with dozens of projects in design throughout California and across the country. And we believe that there is no waste in wastewater, and we are on a mission to create the water secure and sustainable cities of the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And now shifting gears to hear about EV routing, please welcome co-founder of ChargeTrip, Peter Waller.
Hi, Verge. I'm Peter Waller, co-founder of ChargeTrip. ChargeTrip is the world's leading smart EV routing platform. It's a real pleasure to be with you here today. Next year, we'll be raising an A round to supercharge our international growth. But let me explain what we do. We believe that the future of mobility is electric, but as many of you will know, living with an EV is still harder than living with an internal combustion engine vehicle. Charging and driving is unpredictable. You don't know when, where, or how long to charge and what it will cost. This creates anxiety and real-world adoption barriers for fleets and drivers, and we think that this is kind of ridiculous. So in order to fix this, we built a new type of routing engine that, unlike traditional routing engines, can deal with all the extra variables and make EV driving and charging seamless, predictable, and cheaper. ChargeTrip can calculate any route for any EV anywhere, including the optimal charge stations in between. We predict an EV's consumption and range based on distance, speed, weather, temperature, elevation, road curvature and surface. For charging, we account for plug type, charge speed, payment systems, predicted and real-time availability, business rules, and the dynamic price of electricity. The result is seamless and predictable EV routes optimized for total travel time and total travel costs. We expose our EV routing engine through ChargeTrip's API, which makes it easy to integrate our technology into existing charge, navigation, telematic, and fleet management applications. Our customers include Porsche, Total, Recharge, EMBW, EDP, Iberdrola, and many more. On average, over 200,000 EV drivers use our software every month, equal to 10% of all EVs in Europe. Our ambition is to be a world-leading EV routing provider, reducing the operational costs of electrified fleets, owned, leased, rented, shared, and autonomous. So join us as a partner, customer, or investor when you are convinced, like us, that EV routing is a key factor in accelerating and unlocking the full potential of e-mobility around the globe. Thank you very much, and all the best from Amsterdam.
Thank you, Peter. And remember, everyone, in just a moment, you'll be able to cast your vote to help determine the winner. And we have 2 more pitches left to go. So next up, we have a circular food waste solution. Please welcome co-founder and co-CEO of Full Cycle Bioplastics, Jeff Anderson.
Hi, I'm Jeff Anderson, the co-founder and co-CEO of Full Cycle Bioplastics. Full Cycle has developed a technology that converts organic waste into PHA, a regenerative material that harmlessly degrades in the environment, including waterways. Full Cycle is addressing 3 global problems: food waste, plastic pollution, and climate change with one circular solution. Our patented technology redefines organic waste like food, paper products, and agricultural byproducts using green engineering. The end result is a compostable bioplastic that can replace polypropylene, polyethylene, and polystyrene plastics, or 70% of the $700 billion plastics market. After market use, it is once again upcycled into virgin PHA. Why now? PHA is having its moment in the sustainable packaging space. As the world grapples with its plastic problems and its need for sustainable solutions, we're seeing more single-use plastic bans. With these new regulations, the markets have invested more than $200 million into the PHA technology space within the last year alone. FullCycle is the only completely circular bioplastics company in the world. We partner with big tech companies, waste haulers, and major food brands to convert their waste into their own sustainable packaging solutions. We also license our technology globally to companies who want to bring PHA to new markets. Our view for the future is co-location on-site at large waste infrastructure, where we become the best-in-class solution to organics recycling and sustainable packaging. Currently, our pilot facility, located at a large tech company in Mountain View, California, has been operational since January 2020 and exceeded our yield expectations for PHA production. We are currently building 2 commercial-scale facilities, one via our licensing model in New Zealand, and our second via our boot model in California or Colorado. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley, and our team of 70 biochemists, engineers, and creatives continues to grow. We expect to reach 100 employees by the end of the year. We're redefining the plastics industry and catalyzing the circular economy. Come join us.
Thank you, Jeff. And for our last pitch, we have an innovation and supply chain software. Please welcome Alex Gershenson, CEO of SupplyShift.
Gartner just broke some pretty huge news. They found out that almost every procurement department is about to buy the exact same thing almost at the exact same time. Things like this haven't really happened since, I don't know, people realized they needed Salesforce instead of Excel to track sales. And this is probably how the Zoom folks felt when the pandemic hit. So what is this new thing that they're about to buy? It's supply chain sustainability software. Why now? Turns out, surprise, sustainability is really good for business. And the pandemic has shown us how critical supply chains are. My name is Alex, and our team built SupplyShift, a network that gives you the tools to build supply chain sustainability quickly and at scale. And a huge part of supply chain sustainability is managing your carbon emissions. When companies like yours are making climate change commitments, they probably don't realize that over 90% of carbon emissions are in their supply chains. And now everyone understands that without proper tools for supplier engagement, you're not going to meet those commitments and you're going to damage your brand image. SupplyShift is a unique tech solution for 2 reasons. First, rather than hoping that your suppliers know their exact carbon emissions, SupplyShift calculates all of the necessary things based on just a few basic inputs. Second, once SupplyShift shows you how much your suppliers emit, you can use SupplyShift's tools to engage with suppliers and help them understand where they are and where they can improve. Like Zoom was ready to help us when we really needed it. SupplyShift's experience of helping companies engage over 100,000 suppliers will help you engage with the next greatest challenge of this generation.
Thank you, Alex. And what an inspiring group of pitches. In just a minute, you'll hear from our 2 industry experts to contextualize what we just heard. But first, it's up to you, the audience, to cast your vote and to help determine the winner. A poll will be open for the next 8 minutes. If you toggle over to the right-hand side of your screen to the polls tab, you'll see the form to cast your vote. And now I'm excited to welcome our industry experts onto the stage to share their investor perspectives on the startups that we just saw. Welcome, Chante and Rodrigo. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Chante, Let's start with you. Can you talk a little about your work at Venture for ClimateTech and how these startups fit into the broader climate tech industry?
Sure thing. Thank you so much for having me, Sherrie. At Venture for ClimateTech, we see ourselves as a venture studio, a global venture studio and accelerator hybrid model. And we actually source the most promising climate tech innovators and innovations and really help them build their first prototype, build a really strong founding team. And we have a milestone-based program that really looks at what do you need to succeed in this space and how do you think about customers, how do you think about traction, how do you think about your fundraising journey? And so I think a lot of the founders that we just saw recently are thinking about traction in a lot of different ways, which is not uncommon in the climate space. That really your go-to-market strategy has to be specific to the vertical that you're looking at within climate. So whether it's EV charging or supply chain management, really creating a resource for corporates, you really need to be thinking about understanding your customer. And that's why our studio model really looks at customer discovery and product market fit and make sure that our founders really understand the product that they're building, who their customers are. And I think there are a lot of verticals that we like to focus on that we know have real time applications, but also have a clear case for cutting GHG emissions. And I believe most of the founders we saw today, you can directly correlate the solution they're building to the amount of GHG emissions that can be cut. And so we look at founders that are building incredible innovations in the ag, food, waste, mobility, transportation, infrastructure, and built environment space.
Yeah, that's so important to be cutting across all of these sectors. And Rodrigo, I know that similarly at the Amazon Climate Pledge Fund, you're looking at all of these sectors as well, similar to the startups we heard today and what Chante was just talking about as well. Can you talk a little bit about your work at Amazon and how you all work with startups at the fund?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's great to be back on the Verge stage and nice to see everybody attending. The Climate Pledge Fund at Amazon is a corporate venture capital fund that invests or has a commitment from Amazon to invest $2 billion, an initial $2 billion in startups that can help Amazon go faster to meet our net zero carbon pledge by 2040 and also address our appetite and our growing need to power our company with renewable energy, as well as a number of other sustainability initiatives at Amazon. So the way that we think about it is first Amazon as the customer. We have a big footprint across a number of different types of economic activity and in a number of places around the world. And if we can find solutions that can help us decarbonize our business, we think that's a pretty good proxy for other opportunities for those same companies to decarbonize other parts of the economy. So we first start with an Amazon lens, but then we sort of look outward towards the bigger economic impact or the bigger industry impact that can be made with our investments and as we work with the startups. When we invest in the companies, we have a team also that works on post-investment portfolio success. So our capital not only goes into the companies, but we also partner with them. We put people, assign people to work closely with them in our business units to make sure that they're as successful as possible in building their solutions with Amazon.
Great. Yeah, that's so important with that, follow-on funding, making sure that they can scale and have a greater impact. So given all of that, what stood out to you today from the startups that you saw?
Sure, I can kick us off. I think I really appreciated the software solutions. Not that SaaS is that there's any shortage of SaaS platforms out there that are driving solutions in this space, but I think really the critical thinking around both supply chain and where is the market right now. And I think the reality is that there's a lot of data collection that needs to happen. There's a lot of knowledge gathering and sharing that we're seeing really be at the heart of how corporates are thinking about their own sustainability efforts. So I do think software plays a role in the work that we're all doing in the climate space. I'll add that we tend to focus on more hardware deep tech solutions. We do have a software company currently in our cohort, and they're an incredible fintech solution that's really looking at how do you turn the average consumer and person into an investor into things like project finance. They're called seeds, renewables, and we're really proud of the work that we're doing. But we do tend to focus on more heavy and deep tech. And so I was very much impressed by Aaron's not only solution, but I think his holistic thinking around the team. And I think that's what a lot of climate founders are really being pushed to do these days, that I think is we're going to see a lot of return in terms of how we really invest in teams that not only understand the science and the technical aspects, which are a lot of our founders, but then bring on the right team members to really understand the revenue model, right? And how do you take a science technology or a science solution and really turn that into something that's revenue generating? So I was very much impressed by Erin's model and what they're doing in terms of, not only wastewater treatment and sort of the different use cases for water as well, but really I think the team, and hearing him say, we're thinking about regulatory, we're thinking about what it takes for permitting and licensing. And I think the reality is that a lot of folks in this space, whether you're on the startup side or the corporate side, are having to think about all of the various actors and stakeholders that really are driving climate change and climate movement.
Great. And Rodrigo, what about you? What stood out to you from the pitches today?
What was interesting for me, Sherrie, was if you really look at what the companies are all doing, they're working on the edges of these very big issues. They're all trying to gather and involve customers in widespread networks, right, and have sort of point solutions for the different industries that they're addressing. Even a company like SupplyShift, which might centralize data, really has to involve a bunch of different companies at the edges of their network. And so what I was really impressed with and taken by was that all of these companies were effectively distributing their solutions and trying to make it easier to onboard pieces of the solutions at the very edge of big networks. Great.
So Rodrigo, would you say, is that your answer for who would get your vote today?
I was impressed with all the entrants. They're all solving really interesting issues. I found interesting the SupplyShift company. I think that is a big issue, and I think that also engaging the supply chain at the very tips of every industry is super important, and gathering that data is not easy.
Great. And Chante, who would get your vote? I think we kind of heard it here.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Rodrigo, super impressed and excited by all the solutions today. I would definitely give my vote to Epic Cleantech, just really impressed by their strategy and their overall team.
Great, and we do have our winner. We have our results here. So the winner of the Verge Accelerate Finals is Blue Frontier. And congratulations again to Blue Frontier. And congratulations to all of the startups that pitched across all of our Verge events and pitched today at the finals. Thank you to our Accelerate sponsors, Verizon and Acario, who have been tremendous partners to Verge and great support to climate tech innovators across the industry. Thank you again to Chante and Rodrigo for joining us today. And I want to thank all of the startups for your commitment to these solutions and for joining us at Verge 21. Back to you, Shauna.